Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be checking out the Clemson Tigers offense. We're going to go player by player. We're going to learn some things about some guys that we may already know. And we're going to learn some things about some guys that we don't know. If you're new here, my name is Jonathan. The channel is Living Lambeaux. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And hit the notification bell so you don't miss more videos like this one. So if you're even somewhat familiar with college football, there's going to be a lot of guys on this Clemson offense that you're aware of. They're led by Trevor Lawrence. He's almost guaranteed to be the first pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. He threw for 3,431 yards. He had 36 touchdowns and only 8 interceptions. There was some talk early in the year about him not living up to expectations. He was a heavy favorite for the Heisman. But now that we're at the end of the season, he improved upon every major stat from his freshman year to his sophomore year. I would say the one big difference is his ability to run the football this year. Last season, he only had 177 rushing yards and 1 touchdown. This season, he has 514 yards and 8 touchdowns. This isn't some guy that's just running for his life back there in the pocket. They make a real effort to make sure he gets a couple carries a game. They like running a lead draw, and they'll also run some read option stuff with him. He's not Oklahoma's Jalen Hurts, and he's not Ole Miss's John Rice Plumlee, but he's more than capable, as you saw last week with his 56-yard touchdown run against Ohio State. Last week may have been a bit of an anomaly. Prior to that game, he only averaged 5.9 carries a game. He had 16 against Ohio State. More than anything, that may just give LSU something else that they have to worry about and prepare for, but it's definitely something you need to be aware of. At running back, they have Jennings native Travis Etienne. Now, one thing that's not directly related to the game that I kind of wanted to talk about was his recruitment. There's a lot of drama surrounding it. A lot of people feel like he should have came to LSU. I'm kind of one of them, but you also have to say it kind of worked out pretty good for both sides. He's only 6 yards away from becoming the all-time leading rusher for Clemson, and he already holds the touchdown record with 55. LSU has Clyde, so I think in the end it really worked out well for both sides. Etienne rushed for more than 1,500 yards this season, along with 18 touchdowns. He also nearly tripled his production as a pass catcher from his freshman and sophomore years. I do think he's the best back LSU has faced this season. They have a two-headed monster at receiver with Justyn Ross and Higgins. Ross is a sophomore and Higgins is a junior. Both are considered first-round talents, though while I would consider Higgins a pretty sure thing for a first-rounder, this wide receivers class in the NFL draft this year is super deep, so I guess anything can happen. Ross did catch more balls than Higgins this season despite playing one fewer game, 61-56, but Higgins is their big play threat. He had 1,100 receiving yards, 13 touchdowns, and 20 yards per catch, while Ross had 789 receiving yards, 13 yards a clip, and 8 touchdowns. Both of these guys are capable of the big play. Higgins had 20 catches of 20 or more yards this season, while Ross had 14. Both these guys are just big, physical, athletic freaks. They can beat you by getting over the top of the defense, or they can beat you by taking a 5-yard pattern and turning that 5-yard pattern into a 50-yard touchdown. Ross and Higgins are far and away their top two, but they also have a third guy that you have to keep track of, AMARI RODGERS. He had 28 catches for 418 yards and 4 touchdowns this season. I believe he only played 12 games, but RODGERS is somebody that I really like. He's like a running back in the open field. He's tough to bring down. He can go around you or he can go through you. 5'10", 209, literally the size of a running back. I think this guy could be a 5-star running back. They don't really use the tight end in their offense. The tight ends only had 24 catches for 179 yards on the season, no touchdowns, and those 24 for 179 spread out over 5 guys. The Clemson offensive line is a great unit. They were a finalist for the Joe Moore Award that eventually went to LSU. They don't have any guy on that offensive line that's a surefire first-round pick like you would see at Alabama or Georgia, but they have 5 really super solid guys. 4 of the 5 are seniors and super experienced and have played in big games like this one before. Jackson Carman, their left tackle, in terms of just pure skill, probably their best guy, but also their youngest guy. He allowed no sacks on the season. At right tackle, you have Tremaine Ankrum. He allowed only 7 pressures on 367 pass protections this year. At left guard, you have John Simpson, probably their best overall offensive lineman. He's considered a second or third round prospect in the draft this year. He's also the only interior offensive lineman of this group that has started a full season prior to this season. At right guard, you have Gage Cervenka. He redshirted in 2015 as a defensive tackle. This is his first full season, like I said. And then at center, you have Sean Pollard, another guy with big experience. The one thing you can say about all these guys is even if it's their first season as full-time starters, the snaps that they have taken over the last year or two basically equal out as a full season starter. And finally, we're going to go over some Clemson offensive stats. We're going to start at what they ranked the highest for, and we're going to end at what they ranked the lowest for. They're third in the nation in total yards per game at 538. They were fourth in the nation at points per game, 45.3. They're fifth in the nation in turnover differential at plus 16. They've turned the ball over 14 times this season and have 30 takeaways. They're 11th in the nation in rush offense at 246 yards per game. Now, there are two stats here that rank pretty differently. They're second in the nation in offensive line stuff rate, which basically means Etienne and his backup Lynn J. Dixon at least get back to the line of scrimmage almost more than anybody in the country. But they're 49th in power run rate, which just basically means third or fourth down, 2 or less yards to go. They are 49th. They're 11th in the country in sacks allowed with only 16. They are great at keeping Lawrence upright. A stat that I like better than just overall sacks is sack rate. They are fourth in the country, which basically just means the percentage of times that they drop back for a pass that they are sacked. They're 17th in the country in third down conversion rate at 46.5%. 17th is pretty good, but it is something that I think you would kind of think that they'd be a little better at. They converted only 5 of 14 against Ohio State. That's 35.7%. Ohio State was fourth in the country defensively at third down conversion rate. LSU is 9th. They're 19th in the country in passing offense at 292 yards per game. This one's probably pretty easy to figure out. They just didn't need to pass the ball that much. And finally, probably the numbers that I found the most interesting of all of this. They're 46th in the country at red zone conversion rate, scoring just 87.7% of the time. This is one stat in particular that I'm going to keep an eye on because LSU is number 1 in the country at 97.1%. LSU scoring touchdowns and Clemson having to settle for a couple of field goals could be the difference in this game. Alright guys, that's about all I have for y'all today. If you enjoy this kind of content, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I do have one more video planned for this week prior to Monday night, and that is my LSU vs. Clemson real preview, I guess if you want to call it that, where I'm going to predict the score and just kind of your normal game prediction preview sort of deal. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss that video. Thanks for watching, guys. Go ahead and leave any comments you want below. See you guys next time. Bye.